Usually, this is an indicator that your intuition is trying to tell you something. The problem with the intuition is very rarely is it telling us what we want to hear. I'm looking at this relationship for how I wish it was. People get confused between what's the fantasy voice in the back of my mind versus my real intuition. I label my fantasy as my intuition, which gives me an excuse to continue going down this toxic path. It could also be, like I said, passionate messages happening behind your back during what looks like some sort of a pause or a break in this commitment here. Next clarifier for Seven of Swords is the High Priestess. This is your intuition. This is she who knows. This is your internal guidance system. It's your connection to spirit, source, the universe, however you want to look at that. But this is your internal knowing. It's when you normally, like, you don't have any actual way of knowing. This is just, I know and I can feel it. Usually, this is an indicator that your intuition is trying to tell you something. The problem with the intuition is very rarely is it telling us what we want to hear. Usually, it's going to tell us shit we don't want to hear at all. We don't want that to be true. And when we don't have the proof, we don't have the facts to support it, it's really hard for most people to listen to their intuition. It's usually something that we try to push off to the side or sweep under the rug and ignore it and pretend like it's not screaming at me about some sneaky deceptive thing that I can feel is happening. Probably because it's overwhelming to look at that. It's probably why I've got two cards out here with a blindfold on it. Either you don't have the facts to support what your intuition is telling you, or you don't want to see what it's pointing out to you. One of the two. Either way, what your intuition is talking about is directly related to the Ten of Cups. This is Pisces energy. This is most people's goal in terms of love and relationships, even though it really shouldn't be the goal. The real goal should be the Nine of Cups, because you need to be in the nine yourself, and the other person has to be in the Nine of Cups too. And that's what overflows the cups and gets you to the 10th. That's the actual only way to get to the 10 of Cups, the real 10 of Cups. This is supposed to represent happily ever after, happy fairy tale romance, true love, and happily ever after. This is about being together with someone that you're pouring your love into, and they're pouring their love back into you with the same amount of intensity that you're pouring it into them, and everyone's fully loved and fully happy and fully appreciated. Very rarely is that what this card is actually talking to me about. And if you just like zoom back and emotionally detach from your situation for a second and just look at this logically for a minute, if you really had the happily ever after with this person, would you be here right now watching a tarot love reading? The answer to that is no. You would just be out living your happy life. You'd be out pouring your love into them, and they'd be pouring love into you, and everything would be peaches and cream, and you would have zero need or use for what I'm doing right now. Because of that, what this normally represents is someone's idealized viewpoint of the relationship. In other words, I want this to be the happily ever after. I want this person to be the one for me. I want this really badly, to the point that I'm looking at this relationship for how I wish it was. I'm looking at it for the potential that I see in it instead of looking at it for how it actually is. I got my intuition is over here screaming at me about something overwhelming, something related to deception. I can tell you right now, if you really have the real legitimate 10 of Cups with this person, your very first card would not be Seven of Swords. Your very last card would not be the Devil. The Devil being here is a distortion in the energy. It's a heavy toxic energy. And when I've got both of these together, that is a very big clue that this isn't what you think it is. This isn't what you want it to be. It's something different than that. And I think your intuition is trying to tell you that. And I think there might be at least a piece of your mental energy that's going, no, I can't hear you. No, I don't want to hear that. I don't want that to be the case. But there's definitely something unbalanced happening here. And it looks like it's related to a new beginning. Next card in your energy is the Nine of Wands, Sagittarius energy. This is about being walled off and defensive. This is an energy of healing, though. This is the wounded warrior, and he's built this wall around himself as a way to protect himself so he doesn't get hurt anymore, so he doesn't continue to get hurt. This usually is an indicator that you've been hurt and the walls have come up as a way to protect you. This can also just represent that there is some sort of a barrier that's in your way right now. Below the surface of that Nine of Wands, King of Wands again, Leo energy. Again, bold, passionate, fiery, determined person. They know what they want. They're going to go after it. They're not going to stop. This is very driven, motivated, not just in the normal sense, but also by passion and desire here. So I don't know if it's this aspect of your person has caused you to get hurt and the walls are up, or if you're trying to place a barrier in the way of this person now, or if this kind of energy has caused a barrier to be placed in your way. I got the Wheel of Fortune right behind it. In terms of zodiac signs, this is the 4 fixed signs: Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio. This represents a change in the luck and fortune. So if things were going great and this card comes out, it's a pretty good sign things took a turn into the telephone pole when you weren't expecting it. If things are already going bad, this could indicate someone is trying to turn the wheel the other way and correct course and put us back on track and straighten this thing back out and make it so it's balanced again. Maybe trying to go for another lap. But it can also represent a repeating cycle of something happening again. Maybe we've got a repeating King of Wands, like being driven and motivated, making my decisions with not the head that's on my shoulders, if you know what I mean. Yeah, behind that Wheel of Fortune, I've got the Moon, Pisces energy. This can also represent fear, worry, and anxiety, just like this Nine of Swords that's 2 cards deep in the overall energy. But if you think about when the moon's out, it's dark outside. You can't see your own hand in front of your face. It's really hard to tell if you're on the right path or not, or if this was even the right path for you to begin with. And maybe I should go the other direction. Maybe I made a wrong turn. So just like that level of uncertainty can cause fear, worry, and anxiety in a person. So it can also represent, because it's dark and I can't see everything, that something is hidden in the dark. There's some sort of a secret being kept here. I've got 2 cards out here in the shared energy of you having a blindfold on and maybe not seeing everything. I've got lying, deception, sneaky behavior. I've got your intuition talking to you here, which is, again, one of those cards that can mean I don't really have the facts to support this. I didn't actually see it with my own 2 eyes. I can just feel it. But it's telling me something I don't want to hear. This is Moon card here is also a very powerful intuition card. Again, when I've got either one of these 2 cards, High Priestess or Moon, that's usually a pretty good sign there's some shit you don't know about going on. And I've got both of them here. And I've got lying, deception, sneaking around behind my back energy out here. When I clarify this Nine of Wands, I get 6 of Swords, 3 of Cups, Queen of Wands. Not liking how that looks either. 6 of Swords is Aquarius energy. This is about moving forward into calmer waters. It's about leaving these rough, choppy waters of the past behind you and moving away from something painful and moving into the future. But there is some implications with this card. First, the painful thing has already happened in this energy. You can't change it now because it's already occurred. Your only real power is in what you do moving forward from here, which is where the other implied choice comes in. Do I carry the burden that this painful thing has caused forward into my future with me so it keeps weighing me down and holding me back? Or do I carry forward the lesson I learned by going through this painful thing so it doesn't happen to me again? Clearly something painful has happened. You've got the walls up. There's an energy here of someone who's been hurt and doesn't want to continue being hurt. There's this overwhelming, too much happening all at once really fast. And now this, let's move forward and leave the pain behind. Next, I get 3 of Cups, which is Cancer energy. This has got 2 distinct meanings. This is either about being together, like being united and celebrating, or even reunited and celebrating, like getting back together. Or this can actually mean third-party love triangle, because we got 3 cups of love in the picture here. I've got the High Priestess right next to it. Like your intuition is telling you, there's someone else involved. There's something sneaky going on behind my back. There's something, some sort of a risk taking, some sort of a new beginning, some sort of an unfair thing that's here. Only I can't actually see it, so I don't really know if it's true or if it's just me. Then I get the Queen of Wands as the final clarifier, Aries energy. This is the counterpart to the King of Wands. They're the counterparts in the passion and desire end of things. 9 times out of 10, like this is the fire element queen, the hot queen. In other words, the queen that there's all this passion, desire, attraction, sexual energy for, tied directly to what can represent third party love triangle here. That could be why your walls are up. It's sitting right beside this 10 of Cups idealized point of view here. Again, if you have the real 10 of Cups with this person, she doesn't show up. I've got the High Priestess out here. I just saw the moon a second ago. I got a lot of powerful intuition cards out here. And she doesn't feel like she's supposed to be here, which is probably why the Devil is your final card, Capricorn's major arcana card. This is heavy toxic energy. This is sometimes an obsession with something. Sometimes it's an addiction. Sometimes it's a feeling of being trapped by something, like feeling like I can't escape from it because it has so much pull to it that I can't break free. You notice on the card, that's the Fool right here in the cage. The Fool is the shared energy between the two of you. But here, he's completely naked. He's got his face buried in his arm, and he won't look at the situation he's in because he's afraid to face it. But if he did look at it, he would realize this cage door is wide open and he could just walk out and leave anytime he wants. He just doesn't know that. So he feels like he's stuck, which is really kind of what the Eight of Swords is about. It's about feeling stuck and trapped and blocked because I can't see. I don't know what's the right move to make here, and I don't want to make a mistake. And it looks like you have a decision to make and you're not making it for some reason. This is usually like a distortion in the energy. Like I mentioned when I talked to you about this 10 of Cups, the fact that both of these are out here means this isn't the real 10 of Cups. It's a distorted version. The Devil is an illusionary energy, and it's very good at convincing us that this thing that we have is indeed the thing that we want, when it's not. It's something much more toxic than that. Below the surface of this Devil energy, the Wheel of Fortune again. We just saw that a second ago. This is a repeating cycle of something happening. It could also represent trying to correct course and put us back on the right track. The problem is there is no right track here. This is the Devil. This is a toxic, distorted thing that you've got here. And this would be like going for another lap in the distortion. When I get both of these cards together, I call that the karmic hamster wheel, which really means that this connection was meant to teach you some sort of a lesson through pain. And if you don't actually learn the lesson, you're going to repeat it again and go for another lap, and it's going to work out the same way. Hence learning the lesson. And if you don't learn it the second time around, you're going to go for a third lap and a fourth lap and a fifth lap, and you're going to keep repeating that toxic cycle until you figure it out. I've got the overall energy, 6 of Cups, something from the past coming back up again or happening again. And this is the second time now that I've seen the repeating cycle. Yeah, right below that repeating cycle is the Knight of Cups. Actions toward love and emotions, trying to move forward with romantic offers, romantic gestures, trying to advance a cup of love. Now, I don't know if this is telling me you're trying to move forward with this and put it back on the right track and somehow fix this unfixable thing, or if this is telling me part of the toxic loop that's happening here is related to romantic forward movement in a different direction than you. Like when it's laid on the table, it's going the opposite way that you are. Now, when I clarify the Devil, I get the 6 of Wands again, the Page of Cups, and the 5 of Swords. 6 of Wands is Leo energy of recognition. We already saw this. Either you recognizing something, coming to some sort of a recognition that allows forward movement to happen, I've got 2 6s in this top row. Both of them are moving forward into the future. And there's this really fast moving, overwhelming amount of energy in that same row with it. Almost like I didn't see this coming. This is coming out of left field somewhere. And there's this forward movement happening that maybe you're not wanting. I got the Page of Cups next. That's a step backwards from this Knight of Cups. The Knights are the action takers. Pages are just messengers. So this is news, messages, communications about love and emotions. It could be lovey-dovey messages, flirtatious behavior. This could represent an apology. This is normally like the early stages of some love offer where we're just kind of at the point of talking about it. But I've seen this Knight of Cups twice, and that's going from talking about it to actually doing something about it, taking action on it. I've got this this Page of Cups, this lovey-dovey, flirty behavior right beside third-party love triangle thing. Now, again, that could represent an idea of reconciliation and maybe wanting a message about that, and being trapped in this idea that this person's going to reach out and apologize and express feelings to me, and we're going to talk about this and get back together, and maybe even feeling like that's what my intuition is telling me. But I'm telling you right now, when I've got 9 of Swords, one step below the surface of the overall energy, 8 of Swords out here in the shared energy, something unfair and unbalanced, something that I don't see because I've got the blinders on. Maybe I don't want to see it. Maybe I don't want to hear what my intuition's telling me. But maybe this is saying I can't tell the difference between what's my intuition versus that fear voice in the back of my head. And I can't tell if like I'm just being fearful and worried and anxious, or if that's my intuition talking to me. Also, I see people not just get confused between the fear voice and their intuition. I see a lot of people, especially now with all the fake readers that we have here on YouTube, people get confused between what's the fantasy voice in the back of my mind versus my real intuition. And they'll get those two blended together, and they'll have this wild fantasy that this is the person I'm supposed to be with, and we're supposed to fix this and go for another lap, even though it's this toxic connection. I don't want to see that piece of it. So I label my fantasy, my idealized point of view, the way I wish it was, I label that as my intuition, which gives me an excuse to continue going down this toxic path. I hope that's not the case for you, but I see a lot of that. Final card to clarify the devil is the 5 of Swords, Aquarius energy. 5s are conflict. This can be a big fight that ends things, a bitter fight, bitter words being spoken, words being used like weapons, tongues being used like a sword to cut each other. This can represent a betrayal happening, which is pretty much what I'm seeing here. It's sitting right beside the hot queen, the other woman. Again, if this is the real 10 of Cups, this row does not exist in your energy. Other woman and betrayal does not fit with the real 10 of Cups. Now, it fits with the idealized fantasy version of the 10 of Cups, where that's what I want, and I'm trying to look at this relationship for it being that when it's clearly not. 3 of Cups wouldn't be here. 7 of Swords, 5 of Swords, Devil. None of that shit would be there if this is the real 10 of Cups. And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad about it at all. I'm just emphasizing what this is telling me, because clearly that's something you probably need to be aware of.